Welcome, everyone. My name is David Ioha. I am a manufacturing software consultant from Lantec. I will be your track facilitator. Thanks for attending this track. It's AI and IIoT in discrete manufacturing. As everyone knows, industrial Internet of Things, or IIoT, is a very exciting topic that is transforming the way we think about manufacturing. This has especially become even more relevant with COVID-19 and the unique challenges of social distancing and the new safety requirements in manufacturing, in the manufacturing environment. We have a great lineup of speakers to share information from 3 different perspectives. This event is particularly very exciting to me and a mark of our times, not only with the fact that the track audience, are from all over the world, and also our speakers are from 3 parts of the world. I mean, we have Randall Cox from Siemens in the USA. We have Bodo Schmidt from Bosch, the track sponsor from Germany, and Rinaldo Silva from Facteon from New Zealand. So a few housekeeping items before we start. The track structure is designed as this. The first we'll have a 20-minute presentation, followed by a 25-minute presentation by a track sponsor, and then a final 20-minute presentation. Then after that, we will have a 10 to 15-minute question and answer section, and it might be even be a little bit longer. So please, during the presentations, send your questions in the Q&A area in your Zoom interface. We will get to as many questions as possible at the end of the presentations. When you send your question, be sure to mark next to the question the speaker that you would like to answer the question, unless it's to all the speakers. And then in that case, you don't have to do that. And usually the best time to send the questions is during their presentation, so the questions are fresh in your head. So while you listen to the presentation, if something comes up, go to the Q&A section. And then, but at the end, any questions that we can't get to during the session will be handled offline, so nothing will fall through the cracks. The recordings will be processed and sent out to the attendees a few days after the event. Okay, so let's get started with our polls. So Paul, can you pull up the first poll for the audience, please? And this is just to help the presenters and even you, the audience members, get an idea of who's attending. So if you can fill that out, and we'll give you maybe 20, 30 seconds to fill out, and then we'll show the results. Paul, someone says they can't see the poll, but I think I was able to see it. Okay, here are the results. It looks like the most important thing to the audience members today is showing how the technical solution connects to business outcomes. Oh no, calculating ROI. That looks like it leaps to the front. Okay, so calculating ROI is the first, and then showing how the technical solution connects to the business outcomes. Makes a lot of sense. That's what I see as well. Can you launch the next one, Paul, please? Okay, can you show the results? Okay, what's your role in the company? Oh, it looks like it's a good split between senior executives and people in sales and consulting. Very interesting. Okay, and Paul, can you pull up the third and final poll, please? Okay, can you show the poll, the results? Okay, what's your biggest expectation from today's sessions? It looks like most want to learn how to apply AI to improve manufacturing. Second is learn what other companies are doing, which is always good benchmarking, and learn the approach to calculating a good ROI. Excellent. Okay, so let's get started with the presentations. Our first speaker today is Randy Cox. He's from Siemens. Randy leads the Siemens Advanta manufacturing vertical in North America, where he partners with clients to transform their business and realize value. From strategy through to implementation of digital and IoT solutions. He also leads Siemens Advanta North America digital consulting practice, which focuses on helping clients across all the verticals, manufacturing, utilities, med tech, smart infrastructure, to innovate and grow through improvement in marketing, sales, customer experience, and service. And Paul, can you give Randy control?
Okay, I think I have control. Do I, Paul? I think so. All right, so thank you. I'll go ahead and get started, and I'll spend a few minutes just introducing the talk here on this page, and then I'll get into it. First, I found the results from the polling really fascinating. So the first one about what are challenges in calculating an ROI and getting an IoT project started. And so the biggest, most popular response there was calculating ROI, and great, that's what I'm about to talk about. And then talk about some techniques in calculating ROI, one of which is connecting the technical solution to the outcome. I think 30% was the percentage there, so I'm gonna talk a little bit about that. Also, really was excited to see the diversity in the roles, and also, you know, I took a look at the audience here before the talk, and you're from many different verticals, many different industries, lots of different roles within the company, senior executives, I think 31%, sales and accounting, sales and account management and business development, 31%. So certainly quite a diversity in the roles. I think I saw a CFO out there, so I'm looking forward to her questions here at the end. So a lot of diversity, but one thing I think is in common, and that's evidenced by your attendance here at the conference. And I think that's that you want to make a difference. You want to make a difference in your company, your customers, make a difference in industry. And I think it's probably not hyperbole to say that you want to make a difference in society. I mean, certainly that's part of what gets me out of bed every single morning. So making a difference, that really means being a pioneer. And being a pioneer, it's a slog. It's really hard at times, and also the path is uncertain. So I'm excited to share with you our thinking on helping to create a path, on how to handle uncertainty. You know, clients come to us, sometimes they have a vision and they need some help executing. Other time clients want to co-create a vision and seeking a business opportunity, but always there is need to create the payoff, the ROI, before you can move forward. So I have three headlines on what I'm going to cover here in the next couple minutes. Number one, IoT holds significant promise. I think we know that. That's why we're here at this great conference. But most companies are struggling on how to get started, and I think the polling results indicate that. And those struggles are largely rooted in determining a credible return on investment, an ROI. Secondly, there are keys to creating a credible ROI calculation. Having a clear business goal, modeling impact chains, comprehensively thinking through the cost components, and then modeling uncertainty. So I'll cover those. And then lastly, a major key to success, I'll talk about this at the end, having a value realization program. So I really hope that this talk serves as a good backdrop for the presentations that you hear from my colleagues, from Ronaldo and Bodo here in the track, and then also in your career and helping you to make a difference. Okay, I want to move to the next slide, but I don't see the controls. Ah, fantastic. Thank you, Paul. Okay, so we hear this every day, that the Internet of Things is radically changing the way we live and work. Needless to say, that's why we're here at the conference, that everybody is talking about IoT, especially in an industrial setting. And we have a really large audience for this conference, so there's no doubt that we're talking about it. We thought it would be good to partner with, to do a study and to understand where companies and leaders are in this journey. And so we partnered with Harvard Business Review Analytic Services, did a pulse survey last year, and we got some really fascinating results. First, 74% of executives say that IoT will become a competitive differentiator in their markets over the next 2 years. 74%, that is really high. Expected a lot, but that's pretty high. Next, 70% strongly agree that the need to adopt IoT technology will grow over the next 2 years, 70%. And I'm not sure if I mentioned, in this survey that we did, there were over 740 executives from around the world that responded. So definitely overwhelming recognition that IoT enables companies to excel. And also, I'll make the argument that not embarking on IoT-enabled transformation for many companies means getting left behind. Okay, can you move to the next slide? All right, thank you. The study also captured a breakdown of benefits that executives have either realized in IoT initiatives or expect to realize. And these results were definitely fascinating for me. Look at the very top. The highest ranked responses are focused on growth, innovation, serving customers better, new products and services. As you look down the list, it's not surprising that there are many items that were specified around operational costs, greater efficiency, energy consumption, preventative maintenance. Certainly we expected to see that. But look right in the middle, creating new business models. I think that's fascinating in an industrial setting, companies that have been around for decades, or even companies that have been around for over a century. A new business model is a huge undertaking, transformative for a company, and IoT is enabling that. So to recap real quickly, very high percentage of global executives indicate that pursuing IoT is an imperative, and these executives have compelling ideas around how to get started, compelling ideas on their visions. So definitely the mandate exists. Okay. Can I control the screen, or Paul, do I still need you to do that? There we go, good. Okay, but how to get started and where exactly to get started? We see clients faced with an array of challenges, and again, the polling responses indicated some of this, that sometimes it's really tough to get executives aligned on where to start. Many of us suffer from analysis paralysis, fear of taking the big leap, and I think the picture may give some demonstration of that. And of course, the understandable CFO pushback if you've not developed a credible ROI calculation. And so the study also confirmed that 40% of executives are uncertain on how to gain business value, and 45% don't know where to begin. So I think what this study confirms is that there is a really big gap between the executive mandate to move forward and the exact path and the rationale for moving forward. Okay, next slide. And to make matters worse, the track record for measuring ROI is not good. I was really amazed at this result, that an astonishing 90% of leaders can't accurately measure ROIs for some or all of their projects. So no wonder there is caution in continuing to move forward. So let's talk about how to overcome that caution. Let's dig into the 3 keys to a credible ROI. Those are impact chains, comprehensively considering the cost components, and modeling uncertainty. Okay, next slide. All right, so talking about impact chains, that's not new from all the decades and decades of doing ROI calculations, understanding the connection to actions to dollars, that's not new. You know, if certainly with the experience of this audience, you've done ROI calculations in maybe a lean manufacturing initiative or supply chain or sales and operations planning. So the question really is, what is the barrier for IoT? What makes that really hard? And I think that's a fascinating question. And the reason is that IoT programs are relatively new. And that means that the journey isn't clear and there's some complexity and uncertainty around it. So here's the approach that we use to modeling impact chains. And as I go through it, it may sound linear, but clearly it's iterative. You definitely want to start with the business opportunity. The slide here says problem, but just think either there's a problem you want to solve or an opportunity in the marketplace that you think exists. So you definitely start with that and make sure it's crystal clear and aligned with the executive team. Not just simply the coolness of technology like edge computing or a digital twin, which I find especially exciting. So examples are like, how do you help your customer improve profit in using your product? Or how do you reduce operating expense? Or how do you improve worker safety? Those are some of the examples. Next, you analyze the technical problem and you design the technical solution. And then you think through, how do those enable achieving your business opportunity? What are the particular key performance indicators, those KPIs? Estimate how you're going to positively impact those APIs. And then you bring it together from bringing together the return. So again, the positive impact in those KPIs and what you need to invest to enable that. So you bring that together and do your ROI calculation, and that really establishes the logical connection from the asset to the solution, the KPIs to dollars. So let me give an example. Let's say the throughput of your production line is dependent on the OEE of a stamping press. However, the downtime for that press is a problem. So what you do is you make an estimate of how availability will improve through an IoT-based predictive maintenance solution. And then you connect that improvement in availability to increased revenue. Now, I made that sound super simple. Definitely a very, very simple example. There's some complexity and uncertainty to that, no doubt, but just think there are myriad use cases that can be accomplished, and a great body of them are much more complex. So the approach to developing the impact chain is an interdisciplinary effort. Definitely workshops are involved. And I think these are wonderful in the trenches opportunities to drive integration across your teams, across the business, operations, IT, and OT. And you get a bonus outcome that with these teams working together, they have a better understanding and appreciation for how the business runs across the colleagues. So next, let's talk about cost estimates. Go ahead and go to the next slide. Great, thank you. So an IoT initiative will always consist of the implementation of the technical solution across the entire IoT stack. But of course, it cannot be limited to this. The solution must also contemplate the tangible impact on the business, on the people, and must contemplate the culture and an overall change management program. So the budget's got to consider that also. So let's dig a little deeper. For the technology stack, the main components are devices and assets, providing data through the communication network to the IoT platform, which provides information and insights to applications which are exposed through the HMI. So that's the stack, of course, wrapped in a cybersecurity solution. Now, talking a little bit further about the transition costs. There are often process changes, procedure changes, tools that enable the process, training and skill development with the employees that are impacted by the change. And then finally, an organized change management program is really critical. I see business leaders underestimate that part of the change often. I know we talk about this in the industry all the time. Nevertheless, the challenge there is often underestimated. Okay, let's talk about the final aspect of a credible ROI calculation. Paul, can you go to the last slide? Okay, great. Yeah, one forward, perfect, thank you. Okay, so in the top right, the definition of ROI is pretty basic, so I'm not going to cover that. But let's talk a little bit about uncertainty. We know that the world, we know life, we know business definitely has degrees of uncertainty. And to complicate things, as I mentioned, this is new. IoT is relatively new in the history of business. Many companies are early in that journey. So having a single point value for outcomes just really isn't quite credible. So we handle this by creating probability distributions. Now, what are those? So you think for each of the way that the solution impacts the business, you determine a range of values for each KPI, and then you assign a probability that that's how that KPI will come to fruition. So you do that for both the investment side of the equation and then the return side. So you have ranges for both those. And then, of course, that then yields a probability distribution for the ROI itself. Clearly, you're going to want to document all of your assumptions with the values and probability. And that documentation of assumption drives critical thinking. When you collaborate with others, it makes it a cross-functional exercise and make sure that the ROI calculation is more robust. Okay, let's go to the next slide. Just a couple more here. Yeah, great. Okay, just a quick comment on this slide, and then I'll leave it for you to review in more detail when you get these slides. I know they'll be distributed after the conference. This is a summary of the approach that we use. It looks like it's step by step, but know that it's not. Two themes really here that I want to emphasize. The first one, that it really is iterative, so think of agile principles on how to go about this. And then secondly, be sure to involve a diverse set of experts. And I mentioned that earlier. Okay, Paul, next slide. All right, some lessons learned, and I'm a firm believer in the rule of 3. Because the ROI topic is so important, I doubled that. So I've got 6 lessons. I'll move through them quickly. First lesson is, and this bears repeating, I talked about this several times, make sure to start with a business goal, define it really, really well, make sure that you have alignment at the leadership level on that business goal and exactly what you're trying to accomplish. Next, focus on cash. In the ROI calculation, of course, you can think about qualitative benefits and even strategic benefits. And if you do that, you may want...
Randy, 3 minutes to go, okay?
Okay, great. Yep, I'm close. Thank you. So you think about the strategic benefits, and that'll yield option value. So what opportunities do you create after the initiative? Thirdly, don't forget the transition costs. So that's organizational change, skill building, process change. That's really important. 2 keys to making sure that you have a credible ROI. So modeling impact chains and considering uncertainty in your calculations. And then making sure that you monitor the indicators and track the realization of value. So having a value realization program is critical. Just think if you do an excellent ROI, you kick off the project and you implement it fantastically. The real value comes, of course, once the program is implemented and you're driving realization of value. So it's important to have a structured program in place where when those issues come up, you have the structure to deal with them and do course correction. Okay, 2 more quick slides. So go ahead and hit the next one, Paul. Thank you. So this presentation is based on a white paper that we wrote here at Siemens Advanta. So please feel free to visit our website, Siemens Advanta Consulting, download the white paper. You'll see a good example of an impact chain in a use case that we created around predictive maintenance. And so it's a really good detailed explanation on how to calculate an ROI. Okay, last slide, please. All right, well, I really appreciate your attention. I look forward to your questions during the Q&A. And please feel free to reach out to me after the conference with additional questions. I would love to exchange insights with you, talk through what's going on in your business, so please don't hesitate to reach out. All right, David, I'll hand it back to you. Thank you.
Okay, thanks. That was very informative. Thanks for that presentation. And you actually had some really good questions get posted in the Q&A section, so we'll go over those later. So I have them queued up for you. Okay, so the next presenter is Bodo Schmidt. He's with Bosch. Bodo is the main contact for industrial companies who are looking for innovative IoT, Internet of Things solutions. Together with his customers, he drafts IIoT use cases, which are the basis for MVPs, minimal viable products, and productive applications. So Bodo, so Paul, can you give Bodo control of his screen? And Bodo, please start your presentation.
Hello from my side. So thank you very much, David, for the short introduction. Are you able to hear me?
Yes.
Okay, good. Yeah, then thanks. You gave a short introduction of what I'm presenting today. So today I would like to give you an idea of how we at Bosch manage and update a huge landscape of devices. So the focus is therefore on the two buzzwords, device management and SOTA, or call it FOTA. So then let me start with the presentation. Yeah, first of all, over the past years in various projects through different business domains, we have realized that there are certain challenges that every company faces. So this is the difference between talking about a high-value asset and a very fast-moving product. So for example, there are engines or machines that may be in the field for several decades. Consequently, this leads to various technical challenges when implementing an IoT solution. To stay with the large engine as an example, there are many different industries where they are used or applied. This leads to different customer requirements and a data management system that is sometimes very, very different. In addition, in today's age of globalization, machines or devices can be used anywhere in the world, but the manufacturer wants to monitor and control everything from a headquarters. The challenge is therefore that exactly these machines, no matter where they are located in the world or connected in a network, so there are a number of ways to connect the machine or device so it can be controlled centrally or data can be sent. In recent decades, this has been very difficult to imagine or to implement. Today, this should be preferably be standard for every machine, so it can not only be used and controlled globally, but also remotely maintained. The manufacturer can significantly improve the service towards coming and saves enormous costs on his side because on-site support from a technician is no longer absolutely necessary. These are more general challenges, so the more technical related challenges are mentioned on my previous slide. So the challenge is to make new products IoT enabled. But not only new devices should gather data or be controlled remotely, legacy devices should also be able to do this in the best case. Of course, this possibility also exists, for example, through retrofitting. Due to a multitude of devices and protocols that exist, this is of course not very easy. Here you always have to check carefully if, for example, a retrofit of an old machine makes sense because of the protocols and interfaces. Once the devices are connected and exchange data, the challenge is to ensure that the data is absolutely secure and that software updates are possible over the air. However, the prerequisite must be that the data packages are, as well as the data on the machine, are very well encrypted. As mentioned on my previous slide, in most cases, it is impossible to retrieve the current status of a device, control the device, or make settings. So the goal should be to implement exactly these use cases and get, for example, live data from your device, control them remotely, and perform FOTA or ZOTA updates. And this is also exactly what I would like to focus on my today's presentation. We see these 4 main use cases as the most important ones. Today, I will concentrate on how we implement device management and software updates over the air at Bosch, highlighted in those blue boxes here. Especially with a large number of devices, it is becoming more and more important to control and to configure them remotely and to roll out updates over an entire fleet. First of all, what does FOTA mean anyway? So FOTA is a technology that enables the operators of internet-connected devices to perform upgrades of their firmware versions remotely and seamlessly, without the need of physical intervention into the device. So the ability to refresh the operating system of your connected assets, and essential in keeping the devices secure, adding new functionalities, and fixing bugs. Car manufacturers, for example Daimler, must of course manage such a big fleet. So there are a large number of cars that are in use all over the world. The challenge for such an OEM is not only to keep an eye on this entire fleet, but to constantly maintain and update the multitude of different software systems installed in a car. Up to now, this has mostly been done manually in the garage when a car had to be inspected or was there for repairs, for example. So today it is possible to do this remotely. Bosch has been doing this for Daimler for several years now and has already provided over 4 million cars with updates over the air. So here you can see a large number of devices. Thanks to Bosch, Daimler can regularly provide its customers with new functions without having to take the car to a workshop or something. This saves Daimler an enormous amount of effort and costs. At the end, the end customer also benefits from the solution, as he no longer has to go to the garage and regularly receives new features, for example. We implement this with our IoT platform, the Bosch IoT Suite, which I will come back in the course of my presentation. Device management, in short, is the process of managing the implementation, the operation, and maintenance of a physical or a virtual device. It is a broad term that includes various administrative tools and processes for the maintenance and upkeeping of a computing, network, mobile, or a virtual device. In view of the challenges I mentioned in the beginning of my presentation, the entire device management is very important in addition to the updates. It is not enough to just know if a device is on or off and to monitor all possible parameters. The key is to be able to intervene in predefined cases and change settings and the like. The technician should not first fly around the whole world to solve a software problem, but should be able to solve many problems centrally in a short time and be notified by alarm or notification. Here, our Bosch IoT Suite provides the necessary intelligence and command and control capabilities to implement exactly these use cases. The manufacturer of a machine not only saves time, but also enormous costs if he can configure a device remotely, see troubleshooting, and execute tasks remotely. The fleet management is extremely important and helpful in view of the enormous number of devices or machines that need to be updated and managed. So operators are often responsible for a large number of devices and must be able to manage them easily. We help our customers in exactly these cases with our approach. So we provide the customer with exactly the right tools for device management and their use cases. So this includes mass management operations, status monitoring, grouping, searching, filtering, rule-based automation, and so on. So here again, the operator or the manufacturer saves enormous efforts and therefore money. Above all, it simplifies many work processes and gives the possibility really to react faster to certain things. As I mentioned, so we as Bosch meet these challenges with our own open source based IoT platform called the Bosch IoT Suite. So the Bosch IoT Suite is the foundation on which Bosch, as well as its customers and partners, build a wide range of IoT solutions and projects. It bundles the industry know-how of the entire Bosch group and is available across industries. So for example, energy, smart home, building, mobility, and for sure the manufacturing. Today, the suite connects more than 10 million sensors, devices, and machines. So, and 4 million of these are cars from Daimler, as I mentioned. The function of the IoT platform, in short, is a reliable connection and management of devices, sensors, gateways, as well as the provision of secure access management. Through various services within the Bosch IoT Suite, digital twins can be created and collected. Field data can be also visualized and processed on a dashboard. The rollout of FODA is also a function of the suite. So a classic example here for FODA is, for example, the OS update of an iPhone. Updates are becoming more and more important nowadays, so especially in the electrical and the automotive industry. This can be done with the Bosch IoT Suite as well as managing and analyzing IoT data itself. So with the platform, all relevant IoT use cases such as data and device management, the connectivity itself, and ZOTA can be performed. In various projects over the last years, we have experienced that the advantage of the software is of the suite is the multi-cloud strategy and the low vendor lock-in, so which offers maximum flexibility for our customers. And also, the whole Bosch group relies on the platform. The Bosch IoT Suite, as you can see here, consists of various partial services. So I would define our suite as a kind of toolbox from which you as a customer can serve yourself with what you currently need. So it is not necessary to use all services. In many use cases, it is sufficient to implement only 2 or 3 services from those shown here. It is also possible to add different services in the course of a project and thus increase the stack of services of the IoT suite and consequently implement more use cases. So there are also predefined services shown here in the various boxes to be able of doing the mentioned use cases like device management, FOTA, or for sure the data management. And should a functionality be missing in a service that we are seeing this in some projects, we can develop it directly in the project for our customers. So I wouldn't go into more detail about this now, but ask you to ask me questions afterwards or to approach me directly for a detailed discussion on the services here. In summary, the Bosch IoT Suite is exactly the right platform to address the use cases and challenges I mentioned. Together with us as a partner in the project, the customer like EnBW does not have to implement anything by himself, and we as Bosch are always at his side with our entire Bosch group know-how of hardware and software. And yes, so now to give you now a practical example of such an IoT project with Bosch, I would like to introduce you to one that we implemented last year with a large US engine manufacturer. The customer, like many others in the industry, was faced with the decision of how to manage the large number of engines that will be used in use worldwide in the future, and that will become increasingly complex. The use cases in this project are, of course, first of all, the device connectivity itself, the entire device management, so the deployment, device status, health, the device status of the health, troubleshooting, and so on, as well as the campaign and the fleet management for software updates over the air. As we are talking about, in this case, as we are talking about 1 million engines till 2025. So software updates are becoming more and more frequent and also more important. If an error occurs in the software, or if there's a security problem or similar. Here, the company naturally wants to react quickly and not to have to carry out updates manually and call back entire fleets to the garage, as has been the case with some car manufacturers over the past years. So with FODA, this can be prevented in the event of software problems. The companies also want to be able to remotely install new features or solutions to problems in the software and thereby offer maximum benefit to the customer and, of course, save costs for the company. In this project, we as Bosch not only supplied the software, the backend and the whole implementation itself, we also provided the hardware, so the Bosch Edge Gateway. For the customer, this simplifies many things in such a project, so since he has only one supplier to deal with. In the future, in the further development this year, more and more use cases came up on the customer side, which we would like to implement together because the customer is more and more involved into the project and notice what is important for him in the project and in the future. This is also quite normal in a project that more and more use cases arise and new functionalities are desired. So to be able to implement the project really successfully, we have noticed that it's extremely important to involve all stakeholders on the customer side at a really early stage. To give you now, so before I come right to the end, I would like to give you a brief sketch of how a ZOTA process can look like. So here's a really high-level sketch, for example. So for the purpose of simplicity, we have used the example of the American engine manufacturer to illustrate how an engine is installed in a large machine or vehicle. Our software then runs on the CCU, so on the connectivity control unit, for example. This is where a great deal of engine data is collected. As I explained at the beginning, not all data is necessarily interesting for the manufacturer. So with the help of a logic, it can be decided already on the CCU which data the device sends into the cloud. So the data is encrypted and processed in the cloud by our services, and the customer can therefore view, manage, and update his devices and his big fleet. So the devices, the services control, so our services control the entire ZOTA process. So is there an update? Which engines should be updated worldwide? Which group maybe not? So important also here, if an error occurs, when should the update be stopped? So why is this interesting for manufacturers, especially companies with a large fleet and with equipment that is used all over the world benefit from ZOTA? They save costs, a lot of time, and can also give the end customer added value through new features or similar. So software development is also becoming faster and faster, so it is important to be able to update the software on the devices regularly and easily. So if you are now interested in working with us or only for discussion, I would like more information. I would like to recommend the following two possibilities. In case you would like to read what I have said again, you can download a white paper on our website mentioned here. I think many of you like to see our services now live in action. Then I would like to ask you to request a live demo of software rollouts via our website. We will then contact you to arrange an appointment where it is able to show our services in action. I would now like to thank you for your attention and for the time, and I'm eager to hear your questions you have for me, and would like to invite you to contact me after the session. I would like to hand over to David again.
Okay, thanks a lot, Bodo. That was a really interesting presentation. Thanks for the examples. I'm sure the audience benefited from that, and we have quite a number of questions in the Q&A section. And I would like to remind all the members of the audience, keep those questions coming. The presenters really want to hear your feedback and areas that you want deeper dives in, because obviously we're spending like 20 minutes, and a lot of these topics could require a whole day. So please keep asking questions, and we'll cover them at the end of the presentation. Okay, so on to our next presenter, Ronaldo Silva with Facteon. So Ronaldo is a high-tech business leader, experienced and passionate about scaling B2B solutions that solve real-world problems. He is currently the head of digital manufacturing and automation at Facteon. Facteon is a global provider of intelligent manufacturing solutions headquartered in Auckland, New Zealand, with a maintenance and support facility in Qingdao, China. Their solutions range from designing and building complex and fully automated production lines for the manufacturing industries to retrofitting and implementing their IIoT hardware and software across their customers' existing production lines. Facteon has about 150 staff across their facilities in New Zealand and China, specializing in a wide range of capabilities, including machine design, engineering, automation, and industrial IoT. Paul, can you pass control over to Ronaldo, and he can start his presentation. And Ronaldo, we can't hear you.
Hi,
oh, I can't hear you.
Hi everyone. So I just trying to get control here. I think I can. There you go. 1 second, please.
I think.
There you go. There you go. Hi everyone. Yeah, thanks, David. So yeah, basically, just for me here, my goal is to share some additional examples of real-world applications of industrial IoT technologies, and complement what my colleagues Randy and Bodo have shown you based on their experience as well in other markets, and also focus on what you guys are interested on, which is on the calculation of ROI, and also how to leverage AI in manufacturing operations. So I'll be focused most on those topics there and complementing what you have learned from my colleagues. So basically, it's how we can go over the fact that it's still very hard to understand why is the adoption of industrial technologies not being adopted as it should. Because if you think about how when the Industry 4.0 was invented back in Germany in 2011, it's been 9 years, and since then, a number of global manufacturers and global consulting companies have been showing results of their early pilots, early implementations, and going beyond that. And still today, 2020, there is still this lack of adoption, lack of maturity, so it's so difficult to overcome all the challenges about even where to start. And by going over and talking to hundreds of customers and understanding why, understanding what is stopping them from starting the journey, and the majority of the feedback that I was given is more on they get excited about what can be achieved in this IoT. They read the articles and get this exciting new expectation on, oh, this is a smart factory concept. No, we can reduce downtime. No, we can have real-time visibility on what's going on in the production line, and all that. So we have automation, we have physical to digital combined. But then what happens is this excitement goes away when they start looking to referring that expectation from articles and online research on that with their reality. And then creates the confusion of, okay, is this even possible for my type of operations, for my type of manufacturing that I run here, for my equipment? I don't think it's going to be possible. I don't know who can tell me, who can I trust, where to start. And then beyond that, it also goes over all the business challenges on implementing new technologies. You know, the CAPEX is never available, is never enough to cover the problems they have been facing for years. Is always the limit. Is actually very challenging. How difficult it is to calculate or the return on investment. Normally, for these type of technologies, the board directors want to see an ROI in under 2 years. And then you go over, because it's very new, well, still seen as new technology, then they find hard to have someone who they can trust and to help them to mitigate the technology and the business risks. And then, yeah, where to start, and with whom can I start? Who can I trust on guiding me through this? And then, because they normally, manufacturers always have all their resource completely consumed with just running day-to-day operations. And then when they start engaging companies like ourselves, we start going through the journey with them. And when you go past the, the business case, now that we are very responsible. And we mentioned that it's not about just implementing this new type of technology. It's also, you do need to also have a proper transformation program implemented together with this pilot project in order to succeed, to get the most of the technology. Because technology doesn't do everything by itself. So you have to be able to go over some cultural change, a mindset shift, and also implement lean transformation process changes along the way so that you can adapt your operations to take the most of these technologies. And then you combine all of that, it makes very difficult. And based on what we've seen to date, that is what is kind of stopping most organizations, especially the ones that are in the range of small to medium size, to even starting a small pilot. So in terms of, oops, let's go back here. There's a missing slide. Well, I think there's a missing slide. Yeah, so I guess in terms of examples that I think may be helpful for the audience. So Faction, here we have 2 lines of focus for us, for our industrial IoT business. One is to provide digital manufacturing technology, industrial IoT technology for our own production lines. We have a machinery business who designs, builds production lines from scratch. So lines that customers cannot go and buy anywhere. So their production process is so unique that they need to have a production line for their new line of products being built from scratch to their specifications. And so when we started to engage a customer last year, it was the first time we were able to work with our engineering team to overcome a challenge they had, which was to do with have this specific CAPEX to release this new facility, and it will involve a brand new production line that produces this new line of products. However, I have a specific production targets to achieve, and I have a specific CAPEX budget. And by just looking at their targets and we went away to design this production line, and we found out that to achieve what they're after, which is 1.5 million products per year, and every product being made under 13 seconds cycle time, it would require them to basically double their budget to achieve that. And then we went away and say, look, unfortunately, it's not possible for us to be able to achieve that with your budget. This is what we required. But then, and then I got involved and they say, like, what about, are you guys open for, we can have all the types of solutions that we can overcome that. So what, I know we ask questions and then interview the customer and say, what is it that you want to achieve this specific 16 seconds, and why is this production time? And then in covering, are you counting this on production losses, and are you counting your production waste, and what does this calculation looks like? And we went away and found, okay, so this is why. So in fact, so if we can find a ways to we design each station to do more functions, and find a way that at the end of each production, you have a more reliable production process, and you have a more reliable preventive maintenance process for your line. So if you're able to prevent that downtime that you currently have, and if you're able to reduce your production waste, and they were having about 8% to below 4%, just using new type of IoT sensing technology and software, we are able to actually deliver your production line, making a 16 seconds cycle time, and also your capex. But the reality is that this is going to be a unique process, that certain things we are doing here is going to be something that we need to validate, but we are very certain that we can achieve. And we work in a co-creation with this customer, because part of what we're doing was very unique, very like completely bleeding edge, and we didn't have the certainty on that's going to be 100% working. And yeah, we partnered with the customer. We went away, partnered with the customer, and designed the line. Every function, every station was automated physically with robots and smart sensing. They were doing more functions, and those functions are all digitalized in real time. And every step was about 3 seconds. We're performing the function needed, and at the end of the process, they were able to have all the follow-up actions monitoring all the systems, including the maintenance and warehousing, all the stuff to increase the efficiency, not only during the production process, but also afterwards. So to give an example of what it looks like, I would like to just show you the line in action. Yeah, so that is the line making. Though this is a customer makes is washing machines. So this is the bowl of each washing machines. So that's showing there the fully automated process for 2 groups, going from making from the plain sheet metal up to the end, and combining that and have this as a ready product at the end, and meeting their expectations from the physical space. Just to give you an example of how much data we are collecting, transforming, contextualizing there. This production line has 15,000 data points across the entire process. And we had, for example, a major part was, just trying to sorry, trying to go back to the previous slide. Can you, oh, there you go. An example of what we have done in addition to the efficiency part, to increase the reliability of the production process, which all that we have automated from physical to digital space. Another key item for us to achieve was the production waste to be below 4%. That way they can meet their production targets, meet their budget. Was to redesign how every product was inspected. That we did a concept of having laser scanners, having a computer vision camera, doing a double analysis of how each product was welded, and having like about 1,200 parameters being scanned, and then a photo being taken. And we had about 3 seconds to perform that and tell the robot to pick up the part to go to the next process or to reject it. by increasing this, we were, using the sensors and the software, we were able to overcome what they wanted in terms of production waste goal. That was complete from scratch process, combining IoT sensors and software to achieve that. And so the second example is around a different type of manufacturing, and it was all around how they increase the reliability. The bottling manufacturing operations, they had their production lines, and they didn't have the ability to buy new ones. They didn't have the ability to perform major upgrades, and they just need to have a solution that can help them to reduce downtime, have a better way to plan and prevent and predict their maintenance. The interesting fact on this one here is that it came to us just by seeing articles around AI manufacturing, and the interesting fact was that they say, we want to go to predictive maintenance, and I said, okay, so what do you currently do? Well, we don't do anything, but I want to go predictive maintenance. I want to buy predictive maintenance. So okay, so it's not as straightforward as like that. So we had to go over an education process in terms of understanding where they are and in the curve or the journey of the maintenance, and then guide them so the maintenance has been around for a while, and there's a cycle that you have to go through. You can't go straight from react to predictive maintenance straight away. So we went through an education process, and then understanding, from their senior management team, what are the problems, and then we found that apart from being they had the problem of being operating on reactive maintenance, and there was no even the preventative maintenance. There was a spreadsheet with recommendations, and just to run this, stop the production for 2-4 weeks, just to run this procedures, because someone thinks it's gonna prevent downtimes. And when they tried to do that, it didn't work well, because not only they continue to have the downtimes, they also the senior management team found very expensive to run preventive maintenance, because so I still have downtimes, but so I have to stop production for 2 weeks every 8 weeks. That's not affordable for me, right? And then we went away and went through the step-by-step staged approach, and started going from React 2 to time-based maintenance, preventive maintenance. It's still not as cost-effective as the senior management team wanted. And then when it came to we were ready for the time-based, then we went to condition-based, which is then what we were able to implement with using IoT sensors and the software that can, for example, have better indication on what this maintenance procedure should be done based on a variable of an actual variable from the machine. So it's not just using a manual that says you should be changing the oil every couple of days, every 24 hours, whatever. There's the actual machine telling you, I am running out of oil, so you should be changing my oil every time I'm under this limit here that you specified. And then once we achieved that, we were able to then work together to then understand, based on condition monitoring, history, and tracking what we was doing over a period of 6 months.
Ronaldo, just a quick note. You have 3 more minutes, okay?
Okay. Thank you, David. So over the course of understanding from the actual machines and the tracking all downtime, we're able to then have 6 months of learning data from the actual operations, not guessing, not planning, not following manuals, to then develop a predictive maintenance for them that learns from their actual data, and then adjusts itself so that based on the last 6 weeks of your operations, your this maintenance for this machine should not need to be done until this metric happens. And over the course of the following period of time, we were just increasing that knowledge. So we still had to have an expert being accepting the suggestions that the system was providing them in terms of, is that accurate? So, and then, what we're doing now is being more and more accurate and automating more functions. So removing, manual process and all that. So it is a journey, if you see, both if you have production targets and for a new facility, new production line, new equipment, but also if you just want to, go over on your react to predictive maintenance, there is always element of education, element of risks, element of partnership together, and element of also responsibility in terms of being a good adopter, following, what we're recommending, not only implementing technology, but also, doing your homework, which is, have your cultural change, have your process transformation change to take the most of the technology. And then the next challenge is always aiming to go beyond your pilot. We don't want to be dead in the pilot zone as well. So this is something that we are very responsible about. We want to not only achieve the pilot that stays there, but we want to always be able to achieve the goals in the pilot and quickly be able to go and actually implement this across your entire organization. So that's basically what we've been doing. So so that's what I would like to share with you guys today. And I'll be helping with questions after the Q&A session.
Okay, perfect. Well, thanks a lot. That was really good information. And we also have, it looks like every presenter is getting questions in the Q&A area. So, let's get started with that. So the format I'm going to use is basically go from one presenter to the other. Just rotate through all the presenters. Each presenter will take about 1 minute or less to answer the question. So that way we can get to all the list of questions that we have. Okay, so I am going to start with Randall. And then this was a question related to some of the data you put on the screen. It says, which industries were the 140 executives in, and what was their background, business or technology?
Yeah, hey, I appreciate that question. First, actually, I may have misspoke. It was 740 were the executives that were surveyed. They were across the industries that we're really talking about here in this conference. So across manufacturing, utilities, energy, smart infrastructure, commercial real estate. So everything within the industrial IoT population, that was our intended audience. In terms of the respondents, the majority of them were very senior executives. So CEO, COO, and senior business executives. In fact, it was 71%. Senior operations individuals, 25%. Product managers and portfolio managers, 25%. And then senior IT staff, 28%. And I think just the remainder is 5% were in other functions. So hopefully that helped with the audience and the respondents that were part of that survey.
Okay, well, thank you. And the next question is for Bodo. So Bodo, what are the main reasons for unsuccessful industrial IoT projects?
Thanks for the question. Thanks for the question, David. To be able to implement the project really successfully, we have noticed that it's extremely important to involve all stakeholders, like I mentioned in my presentation. So, for example, it is important that development, the product owners, digital or innovative teams, and etc. are involved in order to define the added value for an IoT solution, and to focus on customer benefits or cost savings. So there is no point in implementing an IoT project without a clearly defined goal and an idea of how to implement it in my business model. So this is the only way to guarantee success. Yeah, so I think this is the most important points for a successful IoT project.
Okay, well, thank you. And then the next one is for Ronaldo, and that's what is the name of the open source computer vision analysis software that you discussed?
So that's a good question. So yeah, for us also it's very important to be able to use open source technology. So in this case, we incorporated an open source framework called OpenCV, and we built our own software on top of that, combined with sensors. But the framework we use was OpenCV, written in Python. That most manufacturers of sensing technologies are also adopting that type of technology, including Intel releasing also their version based on OpenCV.
Okay, perfect. Well, thank you. And then I'll start the next round of questions with you. Where are your organization's customers in the journey of building or implementing industrial IoT technologies? I guess, what are you seeing from your experience?
David, is that an open one for all of us?
Oh, no, I'm sorry. I'm starting with Ronaldo now.
Oh, beg your pardon. Okay.
Sorry, so can you repeat the question, Dave? Sorry.
Okay, I'm sorry. Where are your organizations or customers in the journey of building or implementing industrial IoT technologies?
Okay, so yeah, basically we have a range of customers. So we have customers that are just interested and willing and working with us in terms of helping them to do business case, road mapping, and all that, so that they can go over their procurement process and education process and all that. But then we also have established customers who are now leveraging AI predictive maintenance after a year of working with us. And we have customers who were able to go over a from scratch journey with new production lines, already looking at how the new process is working with IoT driven technologies, and then asking about, okay, so how can I actually take out this step now here and just incorporate that across other parts of my business and other parts of production lines, just retrofit what you did here to other parts. So it's a range, but yeah, and then the good thing is that all our established customers, they like to be able to share their experience with other organizations, to be able to share what they have earned, the gains, and to help others to succeed as well. So it's a mix. The majority is still on the learning curve, on trying to start adoption, and also trying to go beyond the pilot. It's a mix.
Okay, well, thanks a lot. And the next question is, it looks like it's for Bodo. Bodo, is it possible to also retrofit my devices in the field?
Yeah, for sure. So that's usually possible. So for example, with our Edge software running directly on a device or a gateway, we can make dumb devices smart and allow them to communicate and then send the data, for example, directly to the cloud or pre-process the data, as I mentioned. And yeah, so it's a clear yes. So it's possible to retrofit your devices also in the field.
Okay, excellent. And then the next question is for Randall. And this also, I think, is tied into some data that you mentioned. What is the data set that you use to calculate the probability distribution, basically to compute the ROI?
Yeah, I love that question, David. Thank you very much. It really is from experience. I mean, certainly there can be data sets with an organization that can be leveraged, and you want to analyze that data. But really the way it works is that, again, let's go back to the super simple example that I talked about during my remarks. Calculating availability, let's say for a stamping press, is at 80%. And through a solution You think that maybe the values are you can bring it up to 85%, perhaps 90%, perhaps 95%, and then you assign a probability to each of those. And you can do that through experience in prior projects where you've been able to improve the availability, so how much you've been able to improve it. Obviously, interviews with experts, both internal and external experts. Consulting organization often can help provide some benchmark data. Earlier projects, and then maybe even talking to non-competitive companies can help with both the KPI values and the probability around those.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. And the next question, and this goes to Bodo. I guess, what do you have any experiences in digital twins regarding IoT for manufacturing? Have you had, as your company had any experience, or you had any experience with that?
So yeah, first of all, I think it's extremely important to have a digital twin in manufacturing. So experiences. So let me tell maybe the benefits of about the experiences and the benefits there. So is that they the digital twin enables companies to detect problems in advance, resolve them more quickly. So and this we always experience in all of our projects. So they can warn of any future breakdown or incident or anomaly in their operation and interact. So when a company builds a digital replica of its products, the environments in which they operate and the systems that produce them, it can predict virtually everything that will happen in the physical world. So the experiences are, so it's tough to build. So for example, for one device to connect, there is an analysis. You need 100 man days to connect the first device. So if you do that for a digital twin, you see it's hard to get this digital twin. But if you have one, you really benefit of them.
Okay, perfect. Well, thanks a lot. And a new question just came in, and this is going to go to Ronaldo. So, Ronaldo, is MQTT communication running node on IoT gateway the future of IoT gateway design on communication stack?
I believe so. I believe so because it's also an open source protocol that we have been using and has been already adopted by major manufacturers to be already having their sensors already accepting those types of protocols. I believe that open source is coming through and pretty strong to enable also large organizations of the manufacturers of devices to adopt those open source. But we have been using MQTT as well, and it has been very, very powerful, very helpful for us to quickly develop new solutions. Yes, the answer is yes.
Okay, perfect. And the next one goes to Randall. Okay, so Randall, I saw that the top-ranked expected benefits from IoT is improvement in customer service and satisfaction. So within this context, you mentioned customer success. Can you elaborate on that?
Yeah, absolutely. And customer success is really, I think, an emerging area in an industrial setting. And so, I mean, customer success is a concept, a discipline that originated in the software industry. So just a couple comments on customer success. In the software industry, and really when it transitioned to a SaaS delivery and a subscription delivery model. And when that occurred, software companies delivering in that model found that they did a better job of retaining customers and growing revenue when they stood up an organization called Customer Success that was dedicated to being proactive and helping customers be successful. What we're seeing in our now in our industrial clients that are adopting IoT is the opportunity to do the same. So with the instrumentation of the product and your own product when it's in the field and in operation, you can monitor how your customers are using your product, Are there opportunities to do it more efficiently and for them to be more successful? And so we're seeing this emerging with our industrial clients, where they are standing up proactive customer success organizations to help their customers be successful.
Okay, perfect. Well, thanks for that detailed explanation. The next question goes to Ronaldo. So Ronaldo, what are the main concerns and impediments that your organization's customers are facing? And I guess, trying to figure out how and they would like to know more about that. Like the main concerns and impediments that your clients are seeing.
Yeah, it starts with, of course, the ROI calculation, but also when you have a champion in the organization, that champion who really believes that there is an opportunity for the organization to adopt this new type of technology. The other concerns are around the technical risks and the maturity of IoT technologies. It's quite hard to be justified internally just due to lack of knowledge and real-world examples of applications. Normally, the normal case studies are from companies, large organizations who have different financial positions and sort of larger operations. When go down to small to medium-sized operations, it's very difficult to justify, and so that's pretty much the main concerns. And then also the third one is how much resources they have to also invest, and the cost of ownership, over a period of 5 years. And then that's how we work with them to understand what are the specific concerns, but basically it's CAPEX, ROI calculation, and business and technical risks, and what is the actual efforts for people and process transformation change that they need to do in order to achieve what they are after on the part of IoT project and beyond. And the risk is, yet that we understand the part, but we want to go beyond the part, because if you just do a part, you validate something, and then the part doesn't go anywhere else. It's also not you don't leverage the investment. So that's the main challenges.
Okay, well, thanks a lot. And Bodo, do you also offer your solutions on premise?
Yeah. Also, yes, like in the other question, yes, we do. So some of our services can be installed on premise at the customer side. There are then different models how it can be solved. So keyword here is who operates the solution then and who's the owner. So it is possible, but the details have to be discussed with the customer in the specific case, because it's possible that not all functionalities are available with such a solution.
Okay. And I guess the last question, so we have 6 more minutes, but so let's see how much time we have after this question. But this is for you, Randy. We have a list of potential IoT projects, but our leadership team is not aligned on how to prioritize them. How can we move forward?
Yeah, I think that, clearly developing an ROI is helpful, and involving the leadership team in contributing in some fashion to the ROI. But we find that doing workshops with the client, getting the leadership team involved and contributing to it, and there are many workshop techniques to get both organizational buy-in and then also to drive alignment across those executives. And then there are prioritization techniques that you can use, again, in terms of risk, return, and benefit, and then how it contributes to the strategy of the organization as well. So yeah, techniques, but certainly getting executives involved, workshops are keys to success.
Okay, thank you. So I think we've come to the end of the track. Thanks to the audience for attending. Thanks to the speakers for giving really good information, and answering all the questions that came in. So thanks a lot for that. And of course, thanks to IoT World for hosting this session. So I think, I'm not sure how we conclude this, but I think I'll hand things over to Linda, and that should be the conclusion of the track.
It is. Thanks everyone for coming.